All right, welcome everybody to our Google Hangout webinar, Facebook Live, teleseminar, all pieces of media combined. Everybody do me a favor. If you're on the live video right now, make sure that you can hear me okay. Give me a thumbs up. Click the like button down below and maybe make a little comment if you can hear me okay. It looks like we have a fair few that are popping on here. Go ahead and just hit the like button real quick and make sure that you can hear me. Can you hear me okay? Okay, let's assume that that's working all right. Okay, great. Well, anyway, thanks again for your time today. Toby Milroy here, Vice President for AMS, and thanks so much for taking this time out of your schedule. You know, one of the most important things that I believe you'll learn in operating successful martial arts schools is it's critically important that you take time out of your day to work on your business, not just working in your business, right? You know, martial arts school operators, all of us, we're so passionate about what we do, and we love teaching classes. We love working with students and working with families. And sometimes for far too many of us in our industry, we become sort of mired by the minutia, right? We sort of get so distracted and so busy with the day-to-day operations of our business that we never take a minute to step back and work on our business instead of just working in our business. So taking this time out of your schedule is critically important. I'm glad you did that today. Today joining us is a very special guest, and we're very sort of fortunate to be able to block this time out of his schedule as well. Today our guest is Chief Master Kirk Pelt, the president of the Martial Arts World Organization, a total of 9 locations currently operating now, and they've been on sort of an amazing growth curve over the last 18 to 24 months. Using the new iEnroll system. And we wanted to spend a fair amount of time talking about that today. But so just over the last 24 months or so, Master Pelt has been able to lead his organization to 9 locations. They've opened 1 brand new location, sort of a fresh startup, so to speak, in their organization. Have had 2 other locations. They've flooded so many students into the schools. In 2 additional locations, they built a waiting list, filled the school to capacity, and then moved to bigger locations. In both cases, that were about double the size. So we'll talk about those logistics later on this afternoon as well. And in addition to that, 2 additional locations now have new waiting lists. So it's a huge growth curve for them, again, over the last 24 months, and something that's been really exciting and a big transition in their organization. So we're very excited to talk to Master Pelt about that. Sir, thank you again so much for taking this time out of your schedule and hanging out with us on this multimedia affair.
Pleasure being here, sir. My pleasure.
So many schools, have struggled through this transition. And we've seen a huge transition in marketing, a huge transition in what the marketplace expects, the advent and the sort of proliferation of social media and all of these changes that are happening in our industry, especially as it applies to marketing and acquiring new students. And today we're going to spend a fair amount of time talking through that. You guys have really, through the iEnroll process, sort of, pioneered and mastered the process of using these new tools to drive traffic into the schools, and obviously the results are speaking for themselves. But before we jump into that, if you wouldn't mind, sir, for folks who are watching who may not have had the opportunity to meet you or see you at any of the events or anything like that, can you just kind of go back to the beginning and give us a little bit of a sort of an outline of your martial arts career, where you started and how all that started, and how you sort of got into operating martial arts schools?
Thank you, sir. I'll humbly give you my short scenario. I started practicing about 32 years ago. I was very fortunate to my instructor, my grandmaster, Grandmaster YK Kim. And so I was very fortunate to have been in the opportunity to be tutored by him and taught by him. And over the last 32 years, been practicing and learning. And about 22 years ago, had the opportunity to run a martial arts school and with the organization under Grandmaster YK Kim. And it's been a great journey, a very productive journey. And I'm really excited, Master Milroy, about the iEnroll program. You had said earlier, you were giving everybody a little preview of what we're going to talk about. And it set with me that I was thinking about the past, what we've done as martial artists, not just me, but what we've done as martial artists, professional martial artists in our industry over the last 20, 25 years is to grow our business. Things such as we've done TV, we've done newspaper, we've done radio, we've flyered parking lots. We do events. We've had rack cards. We've done door hangers. We've done enrollment cards, and with some success. I mean, back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, a TV ad would pull in 20, 30, 40 students maybe, or potential students maybe. Now you run $10,000 in TV ad buy and you're going to get zero. Direct mail campaign used to work pretty fair. Direct mail campaign doesn't work anymore. Traditional marketing, that model, what's transitioned over the last 5 to 10 years, especially the last 5 years, like you said, with social media and in our world today, it's totally obsolete. Traditional marketing is obsolete. So that's what has brought us to this point and this unbelievable, bumpy, but very exciting and cool journey we went over for about the last 2 years.
Yeah. So I mean, if for those who are perhaps unindoctrinated, who haven't perhaps been running martial arts schools for decades, I mean, I remember, when I opened my first school, the sort of mandatory ad spend every month was the Yellow Pages, right? I mean, the damn thing doesn't exist anymore. But the Yellow Pages, I mean, in all the locations that I owned, I always made sure that we were the biggest Yellow Page ad in the book, right? And that's sort of like this blind auction sort of a strategy, right? Where you never know what everybody else is going to buy next year, so you just buy a little bigger, right? And I was spending between $800 and $1,200 a month in each location for a Yellow Page ad. I think the biggest ad was like a 3/4 page, ad. I don't think we ever had to go to a full page anywhere. But, just to sort of edge out the competition, you always wanted to be on the top of the page, right?
Right.
And for that $800 to $1,200 a month ad buy, I ran the numbers on 13 and a half years worth of statistics. And for that, $1,000 on average ad buy, we were generating like 3 enrollments a month. I think it's like 3.2 or something like that enrollments a month. I mean, it's not cool. And so with the internet, with the advent of the internet and social media as an adjunct to the internet, I think people are confused. I think people, especially in our industry, aren't appreciating enough the enormity of the disruption that the internet and social media has had in traditional media, right? The Yellow Pages is gone, right? I mean, it's just all but dead. I don't even think I've had one in my house for the last 10 years. Like you were describing, direct mail, television, radio, short form and long form. I mean, the way we buy media now, the way you buy television ads is so wasteful. You buy so much area that, people can't even come to your martial arts school. It's such a wasteful experience, but this is a net benefit for martial arts schools, for local businesses. And you guys, again, as you said, sort of a bumpy road, but you guys have sort of, through the iEnroll system, mastered this process of targeting those people in that hyper-local environment. So let's drill into that a little bit. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about logistics over our time today too, but let's drill into how that is a net benefit to our industry. One of the things that you guys have accomplished that we're very proud to be accomplishing with other clients as well is reattracting the adult market into the school. So if you could maybe expand on that, this is something that's been a real pain point for lots of martial arts schools all over the country. Describe that to me and why that was your focus, why that's so important, and what type of results you're seeing.
Well, sir, with what's happened over the last 10 years or so, the adult market is virtually 90% is gone out of most martial arts schools. I can't speak for everybody, but most martial arts schools, about 90% of the adult market's gone. And, with UFC and really what's out there and, that visual of what the martial arts is, or that perception, I should say, of what the martial arts is, I think it contributes to, the adults leaving the martial arts industry. I think we kind of did it to ourselves in some aspects. The yoga industry is over 36 million practitioners. I mean, it's amazing. 10 years ago, it wasn't a fraction of that. And so all of our adult market has moved into yoga and things that are safer. And, the yoga industry, I like yoga, but it's a fraction of what we are. So with this program, what's really been the exciting part is we're able to re-educate about the true value of martial arts. We're able to re-motivate, re-inspire, so people see that the martial arts is, hey, it is safe. hey, it is a lot more. It's life skills. It's improving ourselves physically. It's improving ourselves mentally, morally, financially, and in life. So it's totally re-educating our market. So they think, oh, I can do that. It's not what I've seen on television. It's not what I've heard over the last 10 years. It's certainly not just for kids anymore, because that's a perception as well, as they think that, hey, this is the martial arts, that's just for kids. Sure, it's for kids, but it's adults. And we've been able to focus on that with the iEnroll system, the new iEnroll system, and attract the adult market back into our classroom.
Yeah, I want to drill into that a little bit. Before we do that, though, for anybody who's watching, this entire iEnroll process is a little bit complicated, right? There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a ton of labor. And we have an entire team of human beings over here, like people all day long, right, who are working on this stuff. This is not a simple thing. But I would say, I would mention that coming up in a few weeks, on October 6th, I'm going to share my screen here real quick. On Saturday, October 6th, we're actually having an event, a seminar here in Orlando, Florida, at AMS International Headquarters, right in downtown Orlando. It's an easy flight from anywhere in the country, frankly. But on October 6th, we're going to be walking through all the logistics, all of the pieces of the puzzle. So go to the website, superenrollmentsummit.com. I'll put the link in the chat box here too. But go to superenrollmentsummit.com, and you'll see that Master Pelt is one of our guest speakers at this event. We're going to be describing in great detail exactly what the iEnroll process is all about, how it works, the types of schools that it works for, which is nearly every, frankly, and the types of benefits, the types of results that you can expect to achieve, using that type of a system. So again, check out superenrollmentsummit.com. And get yourself registered for that event. We are very limited on seating. We have a beautiful ballroom here at AMS headquarters, but we can only put about 50 or so school operators in there. So we're gonna sell this thing out pretty quickly. So this is sort of like your first advanced invitation, your first opportunity to take advantage of that. So hop on that quick. As quickly as you can. So again, it's superenrollmentsummit.com, and I look forward to seeing you here in Orlando. But let's Master Pelt again drill into what you were just saying. One of the things that we've been able to accomplish with the iEnroll process in the past, I've been very vocal about describing how branding is not something that a small business should be focused on, right? Branding a small business with traditional marketing is almost impossible. You have to have hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars in a local market to adequately brand your school, right? In order for you to get to be what they call top of mind aware, right? In order for you to have top of mind awareness, you have to get in front of your prospective customer between 13 and 27 times while they're thinking about buying, okay? So if you're a car dealer, that means you've got to be on radio, you've got to be on television, you've got to be in their mailbox, you've got to be on billboards, you've got to be on park benches, right? You've got to have all these pieces of media that can impact your potential market as soon as they think about buying a car, right? Now, for a martial arts school, that has been impossible until this point, right? And I've tried, trust me, right? I've spent more money on television than most folks I know. But because the reason is, we could never adequately target the right market tightly enough to spend enough money to get in front of the right customer, in front of the right person enough to influence them, to influence their thinking about what martial arts is. Now, UFC's done it, as you described. UFC's done a good job of branding the other way, right? They've done a good job. They've been on television enough. They've spent enough. They have enough media exposure to get people to think a certain way about martial arts. Not so positive for martial arts schools typically, right? But so with this process, we've been able to reverse that process. We've been able to, as you're describing, re-educate the market, people who are thinking about martial arts, people who have expressed an interest in martial arts, people who meet our demographic and psychographic profile. We're now able to get enough messages in front of them in a persuasive manner that get them to think about our thing in the right way. Is there anything you'd expand on with that? And that's how you've been able to attract so many adults back into your school. They now understand what the thing is really all about again. Does that sound right?
No, you're right, sir. We've definitely utilized this breakthrough marketing system to where we're able to target what our demographic is and also expound on that to educate other demographic. At the same time, using high impact social media, absolutely taking advantage of that with cutting edge technology that's been created by AMS, and then with the mass producing websites. So it all works together, and of course software, automation. So it all works together to be able to re-educate and focus on the power of social media. And like you said, we've been able to target and again, bring the adult market back to our classrooms. It's working phenomenally. I've never seen anything like it. There is nothing like it. Even whenever we were doing it 20 years ago, there's nothing like this that we can target like this.
Yeah, that's I think a significant point not to miss, right? Like this disruption that we're seeing, and it's not just martial arts, right? This is I hope everybody can appreciate this as much as I think I do. This is a massive change in the way human beings behave, and it's in the way human beings can be influenced. And this is something that, I mean, Pepsi, Coke, Chevy, Ford, Mercedes, Lexus, whatever, they haven't quite figured all this out yet, but they will. And this is a massive shift in how people think about marketing, about how local businesses now have an advantage, where in the past we were always overshadowed by the large media buyers, right? When you're buying television, they have something called ROS, right? Run to the station. Same with radio. And what that really means is the advertising sales guy just talked you into buying a package where you can't pick where your ads are shown, right? Because they're going to slot you in wherever there's an open space. Guess where there's not going to be an open space? Oprah, right? There's not going to be an open space on prime time, highly watched shows in your market area, right? You're going to end up on at 2 o'clock in the morning and at 4 o'clock in the morning and at 9:15 a.m. on some channel where kids aren't watching cartoons. So I mean, this is the challenge with traditional. Let me drill in just a little bit deeper for just a quick second here. May not deserve discussion, but why is attracting adults so important? Right?
Oh my goodness!
Please.
As we all know, sir, number one, we as school owners, one of the main problems is being able to duplicate ourselves. I mean, if we only have a kids program, who becomes our staff? Right. Who becomes our future instructors? Who becomes? I mean, it's a real problem for a lot of school owners is being able to hire someone who can willing to learn and come up in the system. That's a natural benefit. We have adult students in our classroom. We have a pool of instructors or future instructors that we can groom to be able to bring on as new staff, So it's actually the iEnroll system within itself, because of the attracting the adult market, it's like having another staff member. Just because when we bring the adult market back, anytime we have an event, just a simple event as far as testing wise, doing a belt testing at your own facility. I'm not talking about doing a massive event, but the more adults you can have a leadership team, you can have an instructors team, and you have more people to make the event better. And it's a win-win. It's great for the student, as we all know, as their development, their leadership development, but it's great for the school and it's great for our organization, whether it's a mini organization or a large organization. So it's phenomenal as to bring back the adult marketing, as staffing is, I believe, the number one. Number two is continuation of your organization and your martial arts program.
Yeah, I think one of the things that occurs to me that affects me kind of deeply is that I remember what was in my head, when I was looking at opening martial arts schools initially. And one of the things that was super important to me was like the perpetuation of my art, right? Like passing that on to the next generation. And I could only teach so many classes a week, right? Like you can only do so much yourself. So for me, it was all about how do I replicate that? How do I create systems that other people can operate and be as successful as what I was doing, so that we could multiply. And I think that's exactly right. We're now able to attract that market. So that it's much easier to do that. Right now, we have people instead of it takes 11 years to develop a good staff member from that opportunity. Now it takes a year or two. Yes, you can have somebody effective in your classes. Okay, good. And I wouldn't miss the fact, obviously, that attracting the kids market is pretty easy with this process too. And you guys have done pretty incredible work with that in traditional evening classes and of course in after school. So how would you compare and contrast that? What has the growth curve been like that in your locations? How's that looked so far?
We've done, like I said before, we've done the traditional marketing all the way up to this iEnroll process. Now this is 85% of our how we bring in students. This is literally 85% of promotion that we do to bring in students. The other 15% is internal promotion, is our events, our word of mouth, our those things that are internal. So it's been incredible. I mean, I'm sure people, or maybe some people have seen it, 10 to 35 new students a month. 10 to 35 new students a month is an average of what we've been doing with the iEnroll system. Just on 10 students a month, that's $150,000 to $300,000 increase a year. If you add 10 students a month for the year, that's the type of phenomenal growth that we've had with the iEnroll system. And it has replaced, as I said before, traditional marketing is obsolete. It's totally replaced our traditional marketing. Just awareness of basic things and doing our events has been our other 15, maybe 20% of what we do outside.
Yeah, and that kind of dovetails in pretty well to, I think, what's next is that essentially you took everything that you were doing in the past, like, so all the high labor marketing activities that we all know work really well, right? The downside of standing on a street corner and talking to one person at a time is it sucks and all your staff quit. The upside is that it actually works, right? And I've been just like everybody. I mean, just like, anyone. I've been sweating my butt off in a park on a Saturday doing demos. I'm at the movie theaters running booths three, four times a weekend. I'm at, local carnivals, festivals, state fairs, concerts, you name it. I will hustle, right? And it, paid off very well for me. But what we're describing now with the iEnroll process is essentially replacing that with something that's essentially zero labor, right? So describe to me, if you would, how all that has impacted your staff members, the owners in your organization, the people who typically would be spending, 12 hours a day every weekend, 5 hours a day every weekday, like promoting the school. What's the impact of that like, and what's their daily life look like now?
So I'll say it first, they love it because they don't want to do the traditional marketing. They did it because it's necessary. As you just described, hustling at the gas station, gift card, enrollment card, whatever that may be. But now what that gives them the opportunity to do, I'm talking the CEOs, that gives them the opportunity to more plan for quality. What I mean is plan for those students that the iEnroll is bringing, planning for them to have the excellent experience and do what they love to do. They love to teach. They love to have the students in class. They love to motivate, inspire, and educate those students. That gives them plenty of time to plan for them and give them a quality experience when they come in the door. Staff is no different. Staff, they were the laborers. They're the laborers along with the CEOs. They're preparing now. Again, you have 5, 6, 7 appointments. EMS is going to do it all for them, but they still follow up. They still, and I'll show that process at that seminar of how it's easy to enroll. With the iEnroll system, they're already pre-framed. In other words, the people who are coming in, they're interested in your program. We've been able to target to where, they can afford your program and they're ready to go. They just need you to show them what you're doing. And the process is very simple of enrolling them in a full-time program. So anyway, back to the staff. I went off on a tangent. Back to the staff. The staff love it because they're able to, they're not out, again, they're not out at the gas station. They're able to prepare for a quality service. So when the students come in, they're concerning and getting ready for testing. They're putting the list together for testing. So it's the next level. So retention's through the roof. They're able to focus on those things that they didn't have time to do. For example, birthday parties and wishing people happy birthday. Sure, that all can be automated, but it's pretty cool whenever you recognize a student that comes to the door because you've had a chance to look at it and say, happy birthday, John. We're going to sing in happy birthday in class or whatever. I'm just giving that as an example. But they love it, number one. Number two is they're starting to hit their goals. They're hitting their enrollment goals. They're hitting their retention goals. So they're empowered with a lot of motivation, which that means they're happy. And number three, that means they're making more money. they're making bonus. So it's a win, 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 win all over for the staff. They're ecstatic, and the CEOs. That's the result of their staff members because they're not having to go out and do what they were doing before to get the traditional marketing that no longer works to get students to come in the door. So it's truly a win-win.
Yeah, one of the things that you've got to be considerate of, and me coming from a multi-school environment and you coming from a multi-school environment, our perspective on this, I think, is a little bit more laser focused than perhaps a school operator with a single location. But even in a single location, you have to be thinking about this. Essentially, you're the CEO of your company. And one of the things, I think Steve Jobs has an interesting quote, which is everybody else was playing chess, but I was playing the players, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea is you have to take responsibility as the owner of your school. You have to take responsibility for managing the energy of your team, right? And the mental state that they're in, right? And now it's up to them to be motivated and to continue all that, right? But you influence that by great proportions, right? In great proportions. So you're asking them. It was one of the things I was always a riddle for me to try to solve, and it's one of the things that was always a challenge in smaller locations with only one staff member or two staff members, is that if they're out all day, promoting the martial arts school, if you're meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning, my process for years was we meet at 9 o'clock at Starbucks. We, build out the plan for the day, what the promotion plan was going to be for the day. We all break, go our separate directions, meet back at the school at 3-ish or, 2-ish or whatever to get prepared for classes. Well, I mean, if the staff is all day long sweating their butt out, putting flyers on cars in the parking lot, and then they come in for class to teach class at 2:30 or 3, what is their energy like? Right. Right. The second thing I think I'd ask you to, as a school operator, to be thinking about is think about when you became an instructor, right? When you came up through the ranks, you earned your black belt, whatever the case might be, and you decided that, teaching martial arts was something that you really wanted to do, you really had a passion for. How much of that initial passion had anything to do with hanging door hangers or handing out guest passes on the corner or going and working with other local businesses, to help drive people into the school? Almost zero, right? You wanted to teach martial arts. You wanted to be, the long bearded gray, the long gray bearded grandmaster sitting in the corner, right? That was kind of the deal. It didn't have much to do with this other stuff, but all of a sudden you're smacked in the face with all these other responsibilities. So as the owner of the school, as the operator of the school, you've got to manage their energy and manage their spirit. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing that you described it, I think, pretty well a couple times ago when we talked. Your team now is coming into the school not having to worry about those things from 9 to 3.
No.
So what are they thinking about instead? They're thinking about making the classes better. Hey, I taught this. You put them in a room and the energy's different, right? You put them in a room and now they're talking about, hey, man, listen, I taught this lesson. I taught this technique like this last week and it worked great. Look at the students were so excited. And then this guy is kind of chiming in and saying, oh yeah, you know what? I'm going to change my class planners for next week because I think it's a great idea, right? So I think it's critically important, right?
Yes.
You touched on something while you were describing that. I think that deserves. Oh, and by the way, what do you think that does to your referral systems, right? How enthusiastic are your students now and your staff now to be talking to their friends about the program and to be?
That's the word of mouth.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the word of mouth.
Exactly. Yeah. It's sort of like this stacking effect. While we're here, so the iEnroll process essentially is essentially driving traffic to your school for you, right? So with a combination of some proprietary software, a lot of proprietary software that we've written here at AMS, a few facets of social media marketing, both organic and paid, and a bunch of other channels that we're using to drive traffic. We're driving them through a funnel where they become pre-qualified, they're expressing interest, they're making the decision to come in and look at and try lessons. They want to be a part of a program, not just a flaky lead, right? One of the things that you described a lot is that these folks are really easy to enroll on full-time programs. Maybe you could describe what your experience has been about that and what the staff's sort of response to that is so far.
Yes, sir. Typically, whenever they come in, number one is when they went through this iEnroll process and they come in as a student, again, I'll say it again, they're ready. They're ready to do class. They're excited. They've made a decision. They're ready to do class and see what this is all about. We've been able to somewhat, like I said, build on this and now have a brand. So whenever they come in, they have an idea that, hey, it's a safe, it's a positive, it's a motivating, it's a great workout, it's a weight loss center, it's a physical fitness center, it's a life improvement center. So they come in, they do class, typically depending on what the offer is, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, whatever, they come in for their trial. By the third class, this is over 80% of the students. How do I get my uniform? They ask us. They ask us how can they get their uniform, which means we don't give them a uniform on a trial program, but which means how do I get started? And it gives us the opportunity just to say, well, come on over and sit down. Here's our program. This is what we do. Reiterate the program and just do the paperwork. Just and again, as everything's worked together. It's not one little process of this entire complicated system. It's everything together. It's the complete iEnroll system working together that makes that work, sir.
Yeah, the with internet and this disruption, right? There's this huge disruption in how messages can get to the marketplace. And with the internet, there are lots of ways to generate leads, right? There are lots of ways to generate people to raise their hand and say that they're interested. Unfortunately, though, a lot of it can be waste, right? We've all had experience with Groupon and with Living Social and deal sites. And one of the challenges with deal sites is it attracts people who are looking for a deal, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but the quality and the qualification of those prospects in many cases is very weak. So one of the things that we're doing heavily in the iEnroll process, number one is targeting the right people to begin with, right? So we're targeting people who, live in the area, who have already expressed interest in martial arts training and already meet sort of some demographic profile. So the income range and things like that all make sense. But in addition to that, we're having them jump through some hoops, right? We're having them jump over a couple of barriers that get them to pre-qualify themselves. In addition to that, once they've set their appointment up to come in and look at your trial lessons, we're also pre-framing them for what a long-term program looks like. So we're pre-framing them to let them know about, hey, this type of a program isn't something that, you do it for 2 weeks and now all of a sudden you know how to defend yourself in any situation for the rest of your life, right? It's something that requires ongoing training, requires ongoing reinforcement. So we're helping to pre-frame and pre-qualify that for you before the prospect even comes into the school. Secondarily, we're also inspiring those prospects to bring a friend, right? Mm-hmm. We're pre-framing them for referring their friends before they even get to you in the first lesson, right? So all these pieces, as you're describing, this is sort of like a meshwork. And all these pieces are working together to click off really good results right now for our clients that we're really kind of proud of. So I guess maybe let's maybe reframe again here for just a second, or sort of reset for a second. Again, if you're listening to this and you think that this is something that you might be interested, that might be beneficial to you in your school, if you could use an extra 10 to 35 new enrollments a month, right? If that's something that would help your school, right? Then really take a look at superenrollmentsummit.com. Again, this is October 6th. This is sort of the first time today that we're even talking about this in public. So, we can only put about 50 people in the room up here. So I'm sure that we're going to be filling the room pretty quickly. So make sure you get to the site and get registered, or give us a call here at our headquarters at 800-275-1600, and we can sort of walk you through how the iEnroll process works and help perhaps answer any questions you might have. But get yourself to superenrollmentsummit.com, and that'll sort of give you a good sense of, we're going to walk through sort of step by step exactly what the process is like and how it's working. Good. Well, I think we've been pretty thorough on that so far, Master Pelt. Maybe what is your plan for the next few months? Like, you guys have, again, let's recast what you guys have accomplished just in the last 18 to 24 months. 9 total locations, 1 brand new school, right? Brand new school from scratch. Again, because of being able to drive adults into the schools, you've been able to scale staff and able to now scale up to another location. So 1 new location, 2 existing locations have moved to schools that are about double size. What was the size change there, Master Pelt?
Oh, one was the physical square foot was 2,400 square feet to 3,400 square feet. The other one was 2,100 square feet to 5,500 square feet.
Right. So on average, double, right? On average, double. And again, 2,400 square feet, that's a very average, typical model from martial arts school. That was my preferred model, right? About 2,000, 2,400 square feet, something like that, in a commercial shopping center. This is something we didn't mention, but just as I said it popped into my mind. One of the things that, because of the advent of the smartphone and GPS and the way we're marketing for people online now, paying premium rent isn't as tight of a requirement as it was in the past, right? Is there anything that you'd expand on with that, or what's been your experience so far?
Totally, sir. Good thought. With the iEnroll program, you said it, with GPS and the iEnroll program, it's too easy now. Whenever we relocated those 2 locations, they were in prime spaces, exactly like you said. We saved in 1 location right out of the gate $70,000 just by moving them just off the beaten path, but still in the same area. And iEnroll system is working just as well as it was when they were in the main location. So we're not having to pay that big rent. Actually, we have another location that I wish he didn't have a year left on his lease, because he's in a 2,100 square foot and we need the room now. He will again have a waiting list. We just made the transition from summer camp to after school. He has about 3 enrollments left to where he's full again. He's full again in that 2,100 square foot location, and I have a year left. So we're looking at relocating him. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a prime location in a Publix shopping center here in Florida, Publix. It can be off the beaten path. It can be a B location off the side road. But with the iEnroll GPS, we can send them to your location.
Yeah, you're not as sort of held hostage by the big property managers anymore. Down here we have Crossman and a couple of others that just seem to own all the commercial property and sort of hold you hostage there. As we all know, walk by traffic wanes over time, right? First 6 months, 8 months, 10 months in a brand new, shiny, freshly painted, sealed and striped parking lot, shopping center, does a hell of a good job of driving traffic in the front door. But at some point, the market's been through the shopping center now, right? So you still have to make sure that you get traffic flowing in the door. So yeah, very useful, and again, a big financial savings, but also huge opportunity to drive a lot more people into that school. Well, great. Well, again, Mr. Pelt, thanks again so much for taking the time today. Again, if anybody is thinking about growing your school, if an extra 10 to 35 new students would help you, right? And I think I wouldn't want to miss underscoring this one more time. This is essentially replacing all of the crazy stuff you're doing right now with something that's zero labor, right? I have down here in Orlando 27 full-time staff members that are working on just iEnroll processing right now, right? 27 people on the team who are driving traffic to your school 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? I mean, 7 days a week. We got people here on Saturday, people here on Sunday, all night long, right? If you would like to focus back on the things that you're focused on now, growing your organization, growing your staff members, focusing on your students and their families, right? If that's what you really want to be doing as a martial arts instructor, then this is really something you should think about, right? Get yourself over to superenrollmentsummit.com, get registered for that event, or give us a call here at the office at 800-275-1600, and we can walk you through what the process might look like for your school. This is essentially replacing all the heavy lifting that you're doing right now. My team handles everything for you. You're not worried about websites anymore. You're not worried about SEO anymore. You're not worried about SEM anymore. You're not worried about Facebook ads anymore. You're not worried about Twitter or Pinterest or Instagram or MySpace. You're not worried about any of that anymore, right? Our guys take care of all of it. You just have to worry about teaching good lessons and enrolling students, right? So again, Master Pelt, thank you again so much for the time. I really appreciate it. And anybody who might be thinking about that, I'll put the link in the description here on the video. Give me a thumbs up if you think that that's something that might be useful for you in your school, and we'll chat and see if it's something that might fit.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks again.